Morning, everybody. Thank you for joining today's webinar on how to write an effective business plan to achieve your goals. Thank you very much for joining. I'm Maria Semper. I'm a qualified licensed accountant. I run MSG Accountancy, an accountancy firm that helps women-led agencies and consultants save tax, be compliant with HMRC without stress, and be on top of their finances. So for today's agenda, we're going to start with a why in mind. This is always the first step to any journey, and having a reason why we are doing or starting something is as important as setting up your own business. So what's the purpose of your business? What we all know that the reason is to be profitable. However, think a bit deeper. Why does your business exist? So just remember that when starting a new thing, it requires change, and especially change of mindset. So get ready for change. Now that we know the purpose and realize that it will only be done through effort and change, we need to find out how to successfully achieve the goals we have in mind. So the START methodology is here to help us clarify the idea and make it easier for us to achieve the final goal. So the goal is the final destination, but how we actually get there? What are the steps that we need to actually take? So we will develop a plan for sustainable business success. Then we will talk about next steps, and we will open the floor to Q&A. I would like to start with a quote. A dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken down into steps becomes a plan. And a plan backed by action makes your dream reality. So there is a process for everything we do in life, and certainly when it comes to achieving goals. So myself, for example, I always dreamed of becoming a business owner, but it was just a dream. So years were passing by until one time I got the opportunity. So I just grabbed it. I gave myself some time to think about it, and I set up a deadline. And therefore I had a goal. So how to get there? It's not about the what anymore, but the how, and how we can actually reach that goal. So sometimes starting something is easier, or it's the easiest thing that we can do. However, continuing and keep going, it's the harder bit. So when the motivation starts to fade, this is when having a well-documented plan can help you achieve the goal. So as we said, we will start with a why. I would like to take a moment and have a reflection. For example, perhaps 2025 or previously, what happened and how did it go? What are the lessons that we learned from it? And what is the change that we want to make? So goals are the outcomes that you want. It's the final destination. So ask yourself, why is your business different than others? Just go a bit deeper, more than the monetary reasons, and then give a purpose to your business. Why do you serve this particular type of clients or this particular market? And the way around, why do they want to buy from you and not perhaps from somebody else? So let's say, I'm going to give you an example about an existing company, Apple. So Apple started a campaign to communicate the why, called Think Different. So throughout its history, Apple has been a challenger, a disruptor, an innovator. So for example, we have with the Apple computer, they did it in the 70s and the 80s. With the iTunes and the iPod, and they did it again in the music industry in the 2000s. And then with the iPhone, they entered into the mobile phone industry in 2007. So each time they stayed true to their why, think different. In the case of Apple, customers are buying the why of think different, of challenging the status quo, of being an innovator. So starting with your why give the followers a reason behind buying from you. So when your why and their why matches, then this is why they are actually willing to stand by you, willing to buy from you long term, and willing to build a relationship with yourself. So see yourself reaching the goal. The main reason why you set your goal is because you want to achieve them. So there is a gap between the current situation that you are in and the future situation you want to be in. So there is a gap, and we want to close this gap by setting up goals and then setting a step-by-step guidance or process. So imagine yourself receiving that diploma, getting that job, that promotion, making the speech, moving into a home of your dreams, achieving that target. So this approach will make you motivated and keep focused. One thing that people do as well is actually having a vision board where you can actually visualize every single time you see that one, and having it in front of your eyes in any spaces at your home, for example, where you can easily see that one, makes you refresh that goal every single time you see that one. And then lastly, be prepared for change, as we said. So sometimes there are definitely many things that are not within our control. So it could be like from economy changes to the weather, to inflation, to the tax rates, to the government policies. So things that are not in our control. So instead of focusing on things that are not on our control, we can just stick with our decision and move toward that goals, regardless what is happening around, and being aware of that, and perhaps shifting and pivoting and switching the path as we come along. So we're going to talk about the SMART methodology. The SMART methodology is actually setting up goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. That will keep us and give us that roadmap that we need when actually reaching the goal. So when the motivation starts fading, as we said before, then this is where we need the actual reliable path to actually keep going. So we're going to go and explain 3 examples. For example, I want to grow my business. We're going to set up the SMART method goal, which it will end up being, I want to increase sales by 10% in a year, selling online throughout a new website. So we can already see that growing my business means not much. And especially when growth means different things to different people, and especially perhaps different things to the same people in different stages of life as well. So this is very vague. What we are doing here, we are actually making it very simple, very specific, so we can reach that goal. The next example could be, I want to boost the client retention. From going from this starting point, we actually are being very specific, very measurable. It's a very measurable goal, attainable, realistic, and timely. I want to boost client retention by 10% by conducting a customer listening campaign in the next 6 months. And the last example could be, I want to be more organized. So let me explain to you the example of Sheena. Sheena is a business owner. She is she runs a consultant agency. So at the moment she does everything in her business, from HR to IT to customer service to complaint department to bookkeeper, and the list goes on and on. I think we know what it means, especially at the beginning of running our business. So she's thinking and wanting to be more organized. She can already feel in her bones the stress of having to juggle so many things and having to change her hats in so many times. So by being more organized, she started thinking just in one area of the business, which is the paperwork side of it. So at the moment, she tracks all the documents and she actually uses an Excel spreadsheet. So it's a good for a starting point. She takes the receipt, she uploads into the Excel spreadsheet, she codes them, and then manually adds all the details. What happens many times is that because it's manually done, things can be like missed, not properly typed. And what happens another time, that all the receipts can be missed. So she can actually miss the allowable expenses in that case. She heard about this cloud accounting software, so she wants to start working on it. So she gets a training, she gets herself set up, her business set up in the accounting software, and then she starts actually uploading the receipts and making, once she has the system of how to do it, then she starts giving herself some regular tasks. So it is a timely. So every time, every 3 days, she sets the goal of having all the receipts done, uploaded into the system. And this is what it does. So every 3 days, she sits down for about 10-15 minutes and she does the receipts. So we are going from a very vague goal to actually narrowing down in one area of the business and then getting that area of the business organized. So what we want to achieve when setting up the goal is, instead of us feeling overwhelmed, actually feeling lifted and feeling that, yes, there is a plan, there is a track, there is a step-by-step process. So just follow the process and we will get there. And this is what we are doing with developing a plan. As we said, this is a business plan, but we are gonna specifically be focusing today on the plan, how to plan to achieve the actual goals, to reach our business goals. So we're going to break down the goals into small targets. It could be like perhaps 90-day targets or a shorter time frame targets. We're going to put some numbers into plan, so make a budget, and then we're going to measure the performance. We're going to set up the KPIs. I think this slide is quite self-explanatory, so you can see that the goal could be like reaching up the hill, and then we have a plan, what path we're going to take. There are many paths, all of them are very valid, there are all of them very good, but we need to choose which one suits us, suits our lifestyle, suits our business model, which one it is the most attainable, the most realistic one. So for example, when I started at uni, I remember that the goal is actually being graduated. So passing all the exams and getting the graduation done in a timely manner. But I think the first few months when I joined, I just forgot about the books. So I was more into meeting people and going out and about and actually engaging with people, being more a part of the community and so on and so forth. Until the exams came, the exams period came, and as you can guess, that was a hard time for myself. So I quickly realized that if I want to get qualified, that was the goal, I needed to do something, which is open the books and start studying. But just the thought of that the whole studies was like overwhelming. So I just made a plan. Every single day I was gonna revise what I went through in class, and that was it. And in the weekend I would have one day a break, go with my friends, enjoy life, and then the following day a bit of revision and prepare for the week. That could be it. By doing that in itself, it already put me like ahead of the game, and the stress level went down significantly. So the targets to achieve the goal, as we said, we have a goal of 1 year, and then going back to the first example of the setting the goals, as we said, we want to grow the business. So the targets to achieve the goal could be in 1 year, we want to increase the sales 10%. In 6 months, we want to build a website that it will help us reach that 10% goal. And then in 90 days, we want to enter into a contract with a web designer, so the website can be done within 6 months. And like that, we can break it down even weekly, monthly, weekly, and daily. And we need to think, what are you saying yes to? What are you saying no to? Remember that whenever we say no to something, we're saying yes to something else. So it's actually being aligned with the yeses that we are saying to, which are actually helping us be closer to the goal. Just remember that being busy, it's not productive. And being productive, sometimes it can lead us in another direction unless we have a clear path. So in that example of the 10%, we're going to put some numbers into it. And the numbers are actually quantifiable. So anything that we can set ourselves to, we can actually measure. And this measurement can be like in terms of actions. In this example, we're having like an annual revenue target, and then we were going to break it down into quarters, as we can see here. So in this next slide, I just want to talk about measuring your performance. So setting up a goal, it doesn't make much sense if we don't actually measure the performance, the actual situation against that goal. So having a goal and setting up goals, or setting up a part of the business plan, setting up goals, and then writing them down and then putting them in a drawer has no difference on actually, it is the same as not doing anything unless we don't take action and we don't compare and we don't track them against actuals. So the KPIs are the key performance indicators, that there are metrics that we use periodically to track and evaluate the performance of a business. So they focus and quantify the goals, and most importantly, enable the measurement of performance. So as you know, what gets measured gets done. If we don't measure something, perhaps we might be able very promptly to miss it. And we want to measure one measure per objective, not overwhelm ourselves, but make it simple and make it clear. Take one measure per objective. So once we have all these KPIs in place, when we start tracking, so we want to track the progress, analyze the variance, and then reflect and adjust the plan accordingly. If we need to adjust the plan, or we need to adjust the actual actions that we are taking. And lastly, be accountable. Accountability is a big one. So right now, when we are bombarded with so much information online, with AI, having information and gathering information, it's not an issue anymore. So we have everything in our hands. The implementation part is the actual issue. From information to implementation, there is a huge gap. And this is where the real progress happens. Because many times, as we said, we can start doing something, but we never finish it. And we know what we need to do, and we know how we need to do, but there is no actual action. And perhaps it might be as well because there is no accountability. There is nobody keeping us, holding us accountable. Therefore, we think, oh, we can modify the plan, change the plan, and get on with it. But actually having somebody that can keep us accountable, it's just having that accountability responsibility there. It just keeps us on track. So next steps. I would like you to take a minute and write down 3 actions you want to take from what you learned in this webinar. It could be from actually setting up a goal, from going to vague to actually making it smart, writing a small business plan, or perhaps a plan that it is made up by a few goals, not overwhelming, but just bringing clarity and bringing direction to the business. Remember that a problem is an opportunity to improve, especially for us business owners, when we are actually closing the gap between what is actually current in the market and what does actually the customer need or want. So entrepreneurs are here to actually close that gap. And we see this problem as an opportunity, and we create and we offer, we serve people to close something, to close the gap. It could be a service, it could be a product. And then remember that doing nothing is worse than doing something. It's better to actually start small, be imperfect. Any imperfect action is better than no action at all. So how can we help you? We can actually help you building your business plan. And then we offer as well these quarterly coaching sessions where we can keep you accountable and make sure that your plan is getting achieved or reached. And if not, help you like switching the plan. So the plan suits your lifestyle, your current business model, and then your situation. I will open up the floor to Q&A for the ones that they are watching that recorded. You can actually reach out by email or on the phone. So that's my contact number and my contact details there. So thank you very much for being here. Really appreciate it. And any questions, please welcome.